Here is SAMSON'S take. Reverend Boateng not in NIB detention. My take today was to be on Galamsey as persons reported to be associated with the NDC appear to take over the reins of power. In the Galamsey underworld. In the Galamsey business, ongoing military raids have led to seizure of 10 excavators and a bulldozer in the Tano Anua Forest Reserve. But there is disturbing information pointing to politically connected persons acting with impunity, seizing and selling off others' lawfully acquired concessions to Chinese. This is happening in renewed Galamsey operations since the change in government. Mr. President, act swiftly, even as your government commences the process to repeal that very bad 2022 law that allows mining in forest reserves. That's LI 2462. Now, I had to check on viral news reports last night. And these news reports were about the arrest and detention of Reverend Victor Boateng. It is not true that the secretary to the Board of Trustees of the Nat'l Cathedral is in National Investigations Bureau detention. That's not true. The founder and general overseer of the Power Chapel worldwide should be in his church tomorrow, and tomorrow is Sunday, doing his job as a pastor. We have confirmed that he was granted bail in the sum of 50,000 Ghana cedis following an invitation to the NIB offices upon his arrival at the Kotoka International Airport on Thursday afternoon. He was cautioned on alleged conspiracy to cause financial loss in respect of the Nat'l Cathedral project and not over double identity as widely reported in the media. Reverend Boateng, also known as Kwabena Edu-Jemfi, drove to the NIB at about 1 p.m. in the company of his lawyers. He gave his statement at about 8 p.m. and that was it. It is curious how the secretariat, the trust itself, the National Cathedral, the trust itself is not in the picture. So it is curious how the secretariat is absent, as in the entire body is absent, while the secretary to the board is being pursued over conspiracy. I have confirmed that there is not yet a substantive charge against the trustees. The board, upon the resignation of the Archbishop Nicholas Duncan Williams and Reverend Isura Naba, is constituted by Apostle Professor Opoku Onyina, who is a chairperson, Archbishop Charles Palmer Buckle, the vice chairperson, the Most Reverend Bishop Justice Ofea Krofi, the Right Reverend Professor Emmanuel Mate, the Most Reverend TK Awoche Prats, Reverend Dr. Joyce Aye, Boateng himself, and the Reverend Dr. Frimpong Manso, as well as Kingsley Ofosu in Tiamwa. The board, as I said, is apparently unaware of any invitations or about its activities. It is apparently unaware of any investigations about anything it has done, to which the secretariat or the secretary is now being invited over. Anything that was done by the board, and the secretary could not have taken any decisions except to be authorized to implement the decisions of the board. So if there is financial loss, basic law will show that the board will be the first point. And if there is conspiracy, as is being, held, then it is conspiracy with who? His lawyers had earlier been to the NIB to inquire if he would be needed, as he was ready and willing to voluntarily submit himself and cooperate with investigations. But the officers reportedly denied any plans to arrest him upon his arrival at the Kotoka International Airport. Surprisingly, he was accosted upon his arrival from a trip to London, returning through Dubai. So they had approached you, that they have information that you intend to arrest him. He is ready and willing to submit himself. What's the point of any show if he's ready to submit himself? You say no, and then he arrives, and then you accost him. He was questioned by 5 NIB officers, 2 women and 3 men. And there was never a question about double identity. In any case, you remember, Shiraji's verdict on that issue in November 2024 was emphatic that the Honorable Samuel Okudzeto Blackwell's claim that Reverend Kusi Boateng had 2 different passports, each bearing one of his 2 names with different dates of birth, was untrue or not proven, and that he rather had a diplomatic and an ordinary passport, both under the same name, and that he had never been issued a passport in his name, Victor Kusi Boateng. And that will be my take. We'll be right back.